So what did we learn? What can we learn from Roger versus Whitebeard? In chapter 966 of One Piece, for the very first time in the entire story of One Piece, we finally get to see the man, the myth, the legend, the king of the pirates, Gol D. Roger in combat. And his opponent is the strongest man in the world, Eduardo Newgate.
One Piece wa jitsuzai suru.
So this clash was very important on many fronts because number one, we have a much better understanding now of the power of the past people, the world's best, Roger and Whitebeard. A lot of folks have talked about Prime Whitebeard, not only as fans, but also in the story itself. And of course, Gol D. Roger being, I would say, the strongest person in the history of the entire story of the One Piece world. However, there are candidates like potentially Rocks, like Emu, that have surpassed Gol D. Roger. But for the time being, I'll say, yes, Gol D. Roger is in fact the strongest person in the history of the One Piece world. And for the future of the story, this, what we're seeing in chapter 966, could be indicative of a Luffy versus Blackbeard clash. Ooh, again, keep that in mind. It's only one clash, but what we're seeing could be the future for Luffy and Blackbeard. Just the magnitude, the scale, the awe, the shock. So Roger versus Whitebeard is pivotal, not only for us to understand the past, but also hopefully see what Oda may deliver for the future as well. One thing I do want to say before we dive even deeper into the details is that this might not, and it's a very big might, but this might not have been Prime Roger. It's safe to say that it's Prime Whitebeard, but recall Sengoku's words in chapter 957, that amazing, phenomenal chapter. He states that Roger's strongest foe, Roger's greatest foe, was Rocks D. Sebek. And that was 10 years ago from the clash we see in the flashback between Whitebeard and Roger. And then on top of that, he has this terminal disease. So I think there is a possibility, a good possibility, that what we're seeing in this chapter is not Prime Roger. So we get a flashback, let's say through Kaido or Big Mom, about Rocks D. Sebek, and then we get some action with them versus Roger, Garp, and so on. Then we'll know, okay, like Roger was like, whoa, when he was facing off against the Rocks Pirates, and he's still whoa against Whitebeard, but he wasn't as whoa compared to when he fought against the Rocks Pirates. So again, it's possible, and keep that in mind. But of course, I do want to recognize that Whitebeard, yes, he ain't no slouch, obviously, probably in this point in time, in the flashback, in that chapter, like top 3, top 4, top 2 strongest guys in the history of One Piece. And also, before we get to Roger, let's talk about Whitebeard. Because before this chapter, still in the same flashback, we see Whitebeard use observation haki to sense the power of Oden, aka Chad Den, and he's able to sense him from quite a distance away. Very similar to what we see Rayleigh do with Luffy, where Rayleigh could actually sense how strong the creatures were, and he knew what creatures could beat Luffy back then. This also proves Marco's statement correct during Marineford War, because during that war, he noted that Squardo would not have been able to hit Whitebeard if Whitebeard was in a better condition. And we see how his Kenbosho no Haki was much better back in the day. But because of his old age and because of his, health, the observation haki couldn't activate properly. So we get to see how good his observation haki is, number one. Number two is that after the fight against Roger, we do see him use Dufu powers, how he gets pissed off at Roger's comments. And then the next panel later, the seas are starting to tilt around the island. I think it's heavily implied that Whitebeard simply getting pissed off back then, he was able to tilt the surrounding oceans. So based on the implication, to me, Whitebeard back then clearly had better Devil Fruit mastery, or at least he was able to exert a better control of his Devil Fruit back then. Because in Marineford War, he probably couldn't output the same degree of power that he could back in the past. That's obvious. A lot of the older guys have always made reference to their powers waning over time, and that ultimately is just the reality of life. So now we got to all of that. Let's get to the main man himself, Gol D. Roger, the cream of the crop.
The cream of the crop! Nobody does it better. Nobody.
Gol D. Roger. Before we even see him fight, we have Whitebeard and company. They're going over to the island where Roger's pirates are located. And we see a whole host of creatures in both the land, sea, and air. Land, sea, and air! We see creatures all over the area running and fleeing for their lives. They sense the danger, they sense the power. And of course, it was the culmination of the Roger pirates. But obviously, I would argue, the main person was Gol D. Roger himself. And this, I would say, is also maybe a component of the Conqueror's Haki that Roger had. Because we know how Conqueror's Haki affects animals and how they get psyched out, how they pass out. Now you can say maybe the creatures were running away because there was fighting between the Roger pirates and the Marines, but the problem is that the Marines that they're fighting against, according to Roger, were low-tier guys, like 9 worth the time. He said bring Sengoku and bring Garp. And then on top of that, if it was just, you know, pirates and Marines fighting, would the sea creatures, not just the land creatures, but the sea creatures, would they run away from the area as well? So I'd argue it's just more than simple fighting between pirates and Marines. So if Roger, let's say, innately had this amazing degree of Conqueror's Haki, or at least his presence was that stupendous, creatures were fleeing for their lives. Again, land, sea, and air, they were bailing. Now after that, we get to see Roger fight against Chaden. And Chaden, we know, is a fairly powerful person. Again, before he hopped onto Whitebeard's ship, Whitebeard acknowledged how powerful Chaden was. He told his crew, stay back. Margo! Stay back. No. And he decided to clash with Chaden one-on-one. So I would argue when Whitebeard and Chaden clash, Chaden was probably around either first commander or admiral level. And he actually gets stronger over the course of that flashback, both on Whitebeard and on Roger's ship, on his journey, essentially. And Roger, in one attack, the Divine Departure, hey samurai! With one attack, Roger blows Chaden out of the water. Now Chaden bounces back, but Chaden was definitely bloody. He was definitely bloody. And he was feeling that. He was so shocked at the power that Gol D. Roger could emanate. So a person who I would say is, again, like first commander level, maybe admiral level, got blown back with one attack, the Divine Departure from Roger. So Roger clearly is displaying a phenomenal amount of strength to not only do an air cut so powerful to where it could overwhelm Chaden, and then it's also safe to say that the air cut was imbued with Haki as well, like what we're seeing with Zoro in the Wano Country anime, where in the anime it's very obvious that his air cuts are imbued with Haki because the color scheme of those Zoro air cuts are now shifted from blue to purple. And when Roger does the Divine Departure, we do see some streaks of black lightning, indicating Haki as well. So this right here is the first clear indication of the power and might of Gol D. Roger. The next thing is Whitebeard comes into the fray, Roger meets him, and they put a tremendous amount of armored Haki on their weapons. It is absurd how much Haki they put on their blades. So for reference, when Zoro cuts down Kamazo Killer, we do see Haki streaks of some kind jettisoning from his blade, almost like fire, like wisp. In the anime, they kind of overblow it a bit, but it's pretty cool, where you have like this double helix thing around Zoro's blades. But compared to the manga, where again, Zoro has like a little wisp of fire Haki coming out of the sword, Roger and Whitebeard, it's like these giant Haki lightning chains. It's like, what the hell? Like, you could just tell, like you could see just the Haki they put onto their blades. Like, god damn! It was looking ferocious, and Roger stands. Roger stands. He was ready. Goddamn. And then finally, they clash. But their clash is something else crazy. When they clash, their blades don't even touch. That sounds kind of pause. Yeah, that's a that's a big pause. But it's fine. It's 2020. Get used to it. The thing. Thing here is this. When they clash, their blades don't touch. And this indicates, I call a stage 3 or a stage 4 haki, which is essentially the barrier that Luffy is training for right now. The reason why I call it stage 3 or stage 4 is because regular armor haki is just invisible aura. That's it, number 1. Number 2 is that hardening. And hardening is the next stage of that armored haki, where you go from invisible aura to something that's actually visible and has that black color with different hues of red or purple or blue, whatever. And that can be applied in various ways, whether it's full body armor haki, or Luffy and Bowman, or Katakuri with the block mochi. List goes on and on. Then you have stage 3, which is the bubble or the barrier that forms that's invisible. So that is kind of like stage 1, where it's regular aura, but in this case, it actually projects outside of the body part or the weapon to a greater degree, and it's far more stable. And then stage 4 is simply that, but it can actually go inside of things and then do internal damage. We see it with Rayleigh and we see it with Luffy as well. So the thing here is that Roger and Whitebeard are clearly doing that stage 3 or stage 4 thing, but we never have seen that actually projected off of weapons. Understand that. Every time we've seen stage 3, whether it was through, let's say, Marigold, or Sentomaru, or Rayleigh, or Hyogoro, it has always been through the palm, or through the fist, like with Luffy. But never have we actually seen a barrier of some kind form around a blade, so when they actually hit, it's the barriers hitting each other, creating a massive impact. That has never been seen so far in the entire story, with the exception of those two in the past, Roger and Whitebeard. So it's very possible that in the future, Zoro may be able to do something of that sort as well, but this may be a stretch for Zoro, like a big stretch for Zoro. Why? Because this is a prime Whitebeard and Goldie Roger. From a power standpoint, those two, back in the day, should be even stronger than Mihawk. So it's even possible that Mihawk doesn't know this as well. I would argue that Shanks would. I would argue that Shanks has better armor haki than Mihawk. But still, even that might be a stretch as well. Again, we're talking about Roger and prime Whitebeard. Like men that had bounties over 5 bill. It's tough. It's really tough. So whether or not we're actually going to see this from Shanks, Mihawk, or Zoro in the future, only time can tell. But understand that these are pinnacle people here, man. Like actual, genuine pinnacle lads. That's a very scary thing, to actually apply that barrier on the blade. Now, it is possible that they're not doing, let's say, the quote-unquote stage 3 armored haki, and they actually just have the haki coated on their blades, but the force, meaning that just the physical strength of Whitebeard and Roger on top of the armor haki hardening on their blades is enough for them to clash without actually touching blades. That could be the case as well, but I do doubt it. And the main reason why I doubt it is because these guys are putting beforehand an absurd amount of haki on their weapons. Like literally a chain of lightning forms on each of their weapons. For the time being, I would argue that they are using the stage 3, stage 4 haki, where it is projecting in the thin air, creating that barrier, that wall, that bubble, whatever you want to call it. Maybe it's more of a sliver in this case because they're blades, who the hell knows? But if it's sheer raw might, and that's the reason why they're actually clashing in the air, then that's also very impressive as well. But it is very unclear, so I'll stick to what I have for now. The next thing we gotta talk about, obviously, is how the clash itself, that shockwave spanned a tremendous, huge area. We've seen the Yonko clash, and they've been fairly impressive, honestly. Like Shanks and Whitebeard, the heaven split. Big Mom and Kaido, the heaven split. The only characters actually dish out the level of power where in a single clash, the actual heavens, like, oh my goodness. But Roger and Whitebeard, oh man, that level of power is stupid, bro. Like, it's not just the heaven splitting. The shockwave spanned the entire island and then some. And don't be dick, that was anchored almost capsized. And you can see the hockey streaks that are forming, jettisoning from the back of their blades. You can see the light shine on the clouds. It was just insane. And most of the lads that were there got blown back. Crazy. That is the most impressive clash in One Piece thus far, by far, I'd argue. And that is something that maybe Luffy and Blackbeard will achieve as well during their fight, where their clash is so stupendous. Giant hockey streaks illuminating the entire area, the clouds having those crazy rays, and so on and so forth. It could be something like that as well with Luffy and Blackbeard. That'd be insane. That'd be amazing. The next thing, the fighting lasted for 3 days and 3 nights, and that's some biblical stuff. That is genuinely some Jesus sandal stuff right there. But this indicates the stamina of Roger and Whitebeard. They had some cuts on them here or there, not a big deal. And ideally, lads like Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, Jinbei, Kid, if Kid's still alive, Law, if Law's still alive, and so on, they'll be able to fight for several days on end as well when it comes to major periods. Blackbeard as well too, you'd assume. And that's really it. We don't really see much from Roger combat-wise at all after the flashback. In fact, we see nothing else from him combat-wise at this point in time. So once again, what's important to note for the quick rundown, for what we actually know. Number 1, stamina game on point. Number 2, arm hockey is tremendous. Very good physical strength. Air cuts that even blow back Shaden, and probably had hockey and beauty those air cuts as well. And then number 4, potentially with the animals running away, that's maybe his Conqueror's hockey just innately just resonating with the animals, and they had to bail. So, there's clearly a lot that we didn't get to see from Roger. A lot. But obviously, this is a clash in a flashback. Unfortunately for a lot of us One Piece fans, Oda doesn't do those full-scale, drag-down, holy Jesus fights in flashbacks. Even if it's Roger and Whitebeard.
What?
Truly a shame. So let's go over now the things that we didn't get to see and or things we don't know. His blade. A lot of folks say that Shanks' Griffin blade is what Roger has, because the actual colorless sword, the hilt looks the same. And Oda actually changed the design of Griffin several different times. It's a weird thing there, but it's safe to assume that Roger's blade is Griffin. It may not be, but if Whitebeard has a Saijo Azemono, Naginata, or glaive, whatever we want to call it, then it's safe to assume that Roger's blade is also a Saijo Azemono, that cutlass. Because we only know of 3 or 4, or maybe no, we only know of 2 Saijo Azemono. That's, of course, Mihawk's blade, Yoru, and Whitebeard's blade, and also the Gandhi guy among the Gorosei, but that one's not confirmed. So until it's confirmed, I'm gonna hold off on that one. So we've only seen 2 Saijo Azemono so far in the time skip. I would say that Roger's sword, which is probably Griffin, is also a Saijo Azemono. That's the first thing. The second thing is that we don't see Roger use the quote-unquote theoretical next level of Conqueror's Haki. I would assume that, number 1, there is a next level of Conqueror's Haki, because, like Aureli said, you can't train to get it, but once you get it, but if you get it, you can train it, number 1. And then number 2, I would assume that Shanks, that current day Shanks, has this next level of Conqueror's Haki. So if Shanks current day has it, then absolutely I would assume that Goldie Roger had it as well. Because I would also make the assumption that Goldie Roger's affinity for Haki was Conqueror's Haki, just how Luffy's affinity for Haki is also Conqueror's Haki. Now again, it's only one clash, but that next level, Oda is probably saving for later. Luffy, Roger, Palos have always been prevalent, and the same goes for Shanks as well. And Shanks, I'm guessing, has pretty damn good Haki on all fronts, mainly his Conqueror's Haki. So, the next thing, still on the Haki points, is that we do not see any proficient level of observation Haki from Roger. Not really, like none at all, honestly. Even on the Lightning Island, where it's raining down lightning, we don't see Roger really do anything. But again, it's like one panel. Again, the flashback was so fast. It was so fast. I wish we got so much more. We didn't. It sucks. It is what it is. But we don't see anything from Roger that is proficient in observation Haki. And it's safe to assume, I would say, it's safe to assume that Roger did have observation Haki that matched Whitebeard when we saw Whitebeard sense Shaden. So let's just say for the time being that his Haki from the observation standpoint is just as good as Whitebeard's. If his affinity for Haki is Conqueror's, then he may not be able to actually see or hear the future like what, let's say, Katakuri can do. Even very good observation Haki users like Rayleigh, who can sense entire island, or Fujitora, or NL, even they combat-wise have not shown the capability to see the future distinctly on a regular basis, hear the future on a regular basis, and also do it outside of intent as well, potentially. So again, one clash. Does Roger have good observation hockey? Of course he does. To what level though, I'm not too sure. Now the next thing, no signs of a devil fruit. None whatsoever. A lot of folks theorize that Roger had devil power. Some folks actually theorize he had the Gum Gum no Mi. Roger had the Gum Gum no Mi before Luffy did, but no. In that fight, no signs of any devil power. Honestly, it's kind of crazy. Let's say he is saving it for the future. Why? Why would Oda save that for the future if Roger had a freaking devil fruit? That makes no sense whatsoever if he's saving that. Absolutely zero. But whatever. Oh, if...
Oh yeah.
Whitebeard and Roger fighting and he would save that? What? Okay. And then finally, the voice of all things plays no role in Roger's fighting ability. None whatsoever. This is unlike the breath of all things, where with the breath of all things, high caliber-ish swordsmen can use this technique to have a better sense of certain things or beings and so on, where they can cut through them far easier. But if there is a way to apply the voice of all things in combat, Oda could be saving that for later. And that, my friends, is the entire kin caboodle. Things that we do know, things that we don't know. And ultimately, I think it was a fantastic clash between two of the best in the history of One Piece, showcasing the phenomenal power that they can generate. And ultimately, it's a little window into what we can expect for Luffy and Blackbeard to be like. And that, I think, is awesome. So on that note, I'm going to catch you guys and gals later. Be sure to rate the video. It is not that hard to do. I guarantee you that, because I know that you all have a device called Zamaoshu. You use Zamaoshu to click, rate the video, to click, subscribe, to click on that bell, join the squad. And of course, as always, feel free to please do comment in the comment section down below. Peace and have a nice goddamn day.